'Twas the night before Christmas. All down the road the Christmas lights lit up the new fallen snow. The kids, they was huddled round a video screen, watching some special they'd already seen. Mother'd gone down street for some LL Bean shoes, and I was upstairs just taking a snooze, when all of a sudden I heard such a noise, sounded like Buddy outside with the boys. Well, I got up so fast I hit my damned head, and said things I probably shouldn't have said. I opened the windy and called down below, "Hey, who's that's out there and taking on so?" When Buddy and Joe all at once did appear, on a new Arctic cat with a six-pack of beer. Their chins was unshaven, their eyes was so bleary I knew in a minute they'd been drinking Gary's, and as Buddy kind of leaned over the wheel, I hollers out, "Hey, Cappy, how do you feel? You look like you's rod hard and put away wet. I really don't see how you're gonna get from here to Moody's." And Joe says, "You're right. It's been a whole year since we've been this tight." "Now look here," says Buddy, "why don't you drive? I'm just barely stivering, been drinking since 5. I can ride in a sled that's hitched up behind. What do you say?" Says I, fine as kind. So I come down the stairs just a tearing and cried, "You kids tell your ma I'll be back by and by." Then with Christmas lights blinking, blue, red, and green, I jumped aboard of that new snow machine and fired her up with a scream and a roar. Turned her around as snow sprayed the front door. Joe said to take the trail to the right, so I drove that old bastard out into the night, but then when we was crossing over the lake, we couldn't remember which trail we should take. And I was just turning to give Buddy a yell when the engine started smoking. There's a strange smell, and we come to a stop, right there in the snow. And I says, "Geez, Buddy, the damn thing won't go." Well, Buddy, he'd passed out back there in the sled with a six-pack of Gary's stuck under his head, and Joe, why, he looked about ready to cry when we seen something red flashing up in the sky. And we was just standing there looking around. We heard a kind of a jingling sound, and all of a sudden, over the snow, come some guy in a sleigh shouting, "Ho, ho, ho, ho." He looked kind of like old Mac from down the shore, except his beard hung down 2 foot or more. And I noticed right off, strange as it seems, he'd harnessed 9 deer to make up his team. Now for a minute, I almost wished I'd had my gun. There was 32 points in the rack of each one. And the one in the front, why, had a nose that was glowing. Why, you could have seen it even if it was snowing. Well, he pulled her around, hauled in on them deer, and he says, "What you boys doing out here? I've been traveling all night. I never yet see a sorrier sight in the looks of you 3. Well, we told him what happened and asked what he could do. And he scratched at his beard as he thought it all through, and he said he could give us a ride in his sleigh, seeing as my house was right on the way. Now, there wasn't much room in the sleigh for us boys, all on account of a big bag of toys, but we bundled old Buddy out of the sled, and he still had that six-pack that was under his head. We was climbing aboard when the guy says, "No way! I can't have you boys drinking here in my sleigh. It's against all the rules. It never will do. You'll have to leave it, or I'll have to leave you." So with tears in his eyes, Buddy hove out the beer. Then the guy with the beard whistled sharp to his deer, and away up into the sky we rose, though Joe didn't see much because he had his eyes closed. Well, the stars were some bright, the wind was some cold, and Bud muttered something about not growing old, and then we could see my house down below, and the barn, and Joe's trailer, all covered with snow. The old fella says, "I'm a-fixin' to land. Gonna bring her around if you give me a hand," and he tells us we gotta lean over the side. We'd have liked to look at old Joe. I'd like to have died. Says there's no way he's gonna do that. "All right," says the old man, "hang on to your hat." Then he hauled on them deer and swung her around. We landed without hardly making a sound. Buddy and Joe, they went over the side saying, "That, by jeez, was a hell of a ride." "Now, mister," I says, "you've helped us a lot. I'll give you a hand with that bag that you've got." And as we was hoisting the bag through the door, why, I noticed the clock said 4:15. Buddy and Joe said they'd be getting on, and tomorrow we go for the sled at the pond. Then the old fella jumps in his sleigh in the snow, shouting out, "Merry Christmas!" And Bud yells, "Won't she go?" Well, the next day, we went to the pond for the sled, though Buddy stayed home with a pain in his head. When I asked Joe about what happened that night, he said, "Well, you know, we was pretty tight. Must have been dreaming," he says. "But you know, there weren't no tracks leading away in the snow."